A few days ago, a Reddit post made a simple claim. An AI CEO finally said something honest, low bar. But in an industry drowning in hype cycles and product announcements disguised as journalism, even a sliver of honesty is worth paying attention to. So today we're breaking down what the creator of OpenCode Agent posted on Twitter, why it matters, why it cuts through the noise, and why it lands especially hard given what the head of Claude Code said around the exact same time. Because the contrast between those two conversations tells you almost everything about where the software industry actually is right now. On Valentine's Day, Dex Red posted his thoughts on AI code generation. No product to sell, no investors to impress. Just a clear-eyed big take from someone who builds in this space every single day. His thread dropped right around the moment Boris Cherny, the man in charge of Claude Code, ran through every talking point we've all heard by now. Developers rely fully on Claude Code, haven't touched manual code since November. Agents running autonomously everywhere, productivity per engineer up 200%. And within a year, knowing how to code won't even matter. Everyone will be able to do it. Big claims, except Boris Cherny runs the Claude Code GitHub repository, which at the time of that podcast had more than 6,000 open issues. Coding is solved, apparently. And Anthropic? Offering $50,000 signing bonuses to hire software engineers that same week. That's not a contradiction they're hiding. It's right there in public. And nobody seems to find it strange. Here's what Dex noticed that almost everyone else is missing. Everybody is talking about their teams like they were already at peak efficiency, and the only thing holding them back was the ability to produce code fast enough. That assumption is the foundation of every AI coding announcement right now. Models get compared on lines generated per minute. Benchmarks show task completion speed. And the conclusion is always the same. Faster code equals better software. But that assumption has a serious problem. Laravel, Rails, no-code builders, drag and drop, SaaS tools. We've been automating software creation for over a decade already. The hard parts of wiring applications together have been abstracted away for years. A solid MVP already took weeks at most, so going from weeks to days, what have we actually solved? And if removing the need to write code was the silver bullet, the developer market would have already shrunk. No-code tools have existed for years. Developer demand never dropped because the code was never the problem. This is where Dex's take gets genuinely sharp. In his words, your organization rarely has good ideas, so ideas being expensive to implement was actually helping you. Sit with that for a second. When a feature costs 2 weeks of engineering time, teams are forced to ask real questions. Is this worth building? What problem does it actually solve? What breaks downstream? What does it cost to maintain 6 months from now? That time constraint was a forcing function. It made teams prioritize, it made them polish, it made them cut. When implementation is expensive, you are forced to think. You debate trade-offs. You question whether the feature is worth the maintenance cost. And you kill mediocre ideas early, because every mediocre idea has a real opportunity cost. AI didn't remove bad ideas, it removed the cost of having them. The products we actually love didn't win because they generated code faster than their competitors. They won because they made sharp, deliberate decisions under pressure. They picked a narrow problem, executed it well, and said no to 1,000 tempting extensions. That discipline is now disappearing. When the marginal cost of shipping a feature drops to near zero, the incentive to think carefully about it drops with it. If something takes 10 minutes to generate, why debate it at all? Just ship 5 versions and see what sticks. Cheap code creates expensive chaos, and we're already seeing early signs of what that looks like. In 2024, a wave of AI-generated SaaS tools flooded Product Hunt. Dozens launched every week. Most were variations of the same idea, built in a weekend with near-identical interfaces, overlapping features, and no clear reason to exist. Within months, the majority had gone dark. No updates, no support, no response from founders. Users left holding subscriptions for tools that quietly stopped working. That's not a hypothetical future, that's already the present, and the tooling has only gotten faster since the filter got removed, and most people are celebrating. None of this means the industry shrinks. It's going to grow, just not the way people are expecting. When the cost of generating software drops, the surface area of software expands. More teams build internal tools. More departments automate processes. Entire industries that ran on spreadsheets suddenly have custom dashboards and lightweight apps. History is consistent on this. Lowering friction multiplies complexity. It doesn't reduce it. This is the Jevons paradox. As a resource becomes cheaper to produce, we don't use less of it. We find infinite new ways to use more of it. That's what's coming for software. Not less complexity, more of it. Sprawling, distributed, poorly understood, and fewer people who actually know how any of it works. Most workers don't want to be 10 times more productive. They want to do their job and go home. And AI for most of those people won't be a multiplier of ambition. It'll be an energy saver. For most teams, it's just a faster way to do less thinking, which is fine on its own, until you realize those same teams are shipping real software to real users, and nobody is asking whether it should have been shipped at all. Coding, despite all the mythology, is actually the easy part. Writing syntax is mechanical. The hard part is modeling the problem correctly, anticipating failure modes, designing systems that survive change. When you write code yourself, you simulate the system in your head. You understand why a function exists, what breaks when inputs are invalid. That mental simulation is the actual training. If that layer gets outsourced, that training disappears. We automated coding before we automated judgment. The 2 or 3 engineers who actually have those reasoning muscles, they're now also responsible for reviewing everything everyone else is generating. You've multiplied the surface area of the code base while concentrating the understanding of it into fewer people. That's not a productivity gain, that's fragility. And you're still hitting the same walls that always existed. App stores have millions of apps nobody uses. Not because they were poorly coded, because nobody found them. Nobody trusted them. Nobody had a reason to switch. User attention, distribution, discovery, trust. None of those are solved by generating another 1,000 lines of code in 30 seconds. The future of software may just be infinite MVP hell. IBM just announced it's tripling entry-level hiring, including software developers. Their argument: stop investing in junior developers now and you'll feel the talent gap in 3 to 5 years. The companies still hiring early will outperform the ones that aren't, not immediately, but compoundingly. Even Sam Altman acknowledged that most AI layoffs aren't really about AI. They're covering for weak financials and overhiring. AI is a convenient headline. The hard part was never writing the code. The hard part was knowing what to build, whether it deserved to exist, and whether your team could still understand what they shipped when something went wrong. AI makes the first part faster. It doesn't touch the second part at all. More code, worse software, more developers.